This is Lauren Kimball from ANI 245, and I am re-recording this introduction to the new and improved Flying Fox rig. Because I ran into an issue with one of the tail controllers, I fixed it, and now I must re-record this introduction. So, let us begin. I am not, just as a quick disclaimer, the original rigging artist who rigged this Fox. I downloaded this Fox off the internet ages ago. It has been a great, loyal little rig. Unfortunately, as Maya kept upgrading and upgrading, by the time 2018 and 2019 rolled around, this rig was causing some computers to crash. And that is no fault of the original creator. It's just some nodes don't always translate to upgraded versions of the software. So I decided, as sort of a homage to the person who originally created the Flying Fox, to hold on to the original mesh and just re-rig it. So let's get into it. This main controller here, oh, and by the way, everything is color-coded. So in the future, when I record tutorials, I can tell you to grab the orange controller or grab the light blue one. So hopefully it'll help communicate better for future recordings. The blue controller here is going to control the root, which of course, like any good root controller, allows you to move the Fox around, allows you to rotate him, and of course allows you to scale him without experiencing any terrible deformation issues. Over here we've got a light blue controller, which just allows you to rotate the head. So if you tried to scale it, none of these controls work, but when you rotate, you can just have a little nuanced motion. Maybe your character needs to shake his head a little, I don't know. It looks a little weird from the side, clearly, to have the head move without the tail, but from certain camera angles, it's a nice little option to have, you know? Also, when you click on that controller, inside the channel box, there's an option to squash and stretch. So you can have a nice little squash stretch for your character. Also attached to this iteration of the rig, you can click on ear controls and flop the ear side to side. You can also have it move backwards and forwards. And the ears also rotate. So the character hears a noise, or maybe you just want a little bit more dynamic range, you have it. Now let's get to the tail. This stays the same with the red, orange to yellow transition, those gradients of those tools. Those particular controllers will control the different parts of the Fox's tail. If you wanted to animate them one by one in sort of an FK measure. Now, let's get to the bottom of this purple controller. What happened? Originally, I had designed this controller where you move it around and it moves the tail in kind of a almost spline / IK-ish way. However, I programmed it that way using driver-driven keys, and the driver-driven keys were overriding any nuanced keys done on the independent controllers. So if I used this controller to move the tail and I wanted to tweak this joint, it wouldn't have let me, which defeated the purpose. So after thinking about it and scouring the web for hours, I finally kind of stumbled upon a solution in the, I can't remember which forum I looked in, but someone had asked a similar question, and a programmer who's far more adept at MelScript than I'll ever be had a really cool code that I modified to work for this situation. So, this is what you need to do if you want to make this control work. If you don't care about this control, you can just animate the Fox and hide that control if you want. Or, just put it in a layer and make it disappear. Just like that. If you don't care about the controller. If you want this to work, here's what you must do. Open up the outliner. Very important that when you open this file, you go File, Open to get to the Fox. If you dragged and dropped the Fox into Maya, it would mildly alter the names of the different groups, and we can't have that for this to work because the syntax for this command that we're going to use is very case sensitive. And if anything changes on the naming conventions, then the script won't work. So just remember, whenever you open this rig, File, Open, do not drag and drop. Okay, that said, click on Tail Select Script. It is an empty group. There's nothing in it. Just select it. go ahead and press Control A to get to your attribute editor, and at the very bottom you'll notice a whole bunch of script. Basically, there's a little note section attached to anything in the attribute editor, and I just attached it to the note section on this group. So I'm going to click on this note, and using a PC you can do Control A, on a PC Command A to select everything, and then to copy it to your clipboard, Control C or Alt C, or you could right click. It's not going to let me right click, so just Alt C or Command C or Control C, depending on if you're Mac or PC. Then what you want to do is go to the very bottom right hand corner of the screen, and you will see a little semicolon around encircled by brackets. Click that. This is your script editor. Anything you do in Maya, when I click off of my mesh, when I click onto my mesh, when I rotate anything, all that information is being recorded in code inside your script editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up, see this little yellow folder, go over about 4 or 5 buttons over to clear history. It just kind of wipes everything out so that you can see the code once it's launched. I'm going to click on the Mel script tab down here, make sure it's Mel and not Python. And I'm going to press either Control V or Command V if you're on the Mac, and it's going to paste that information from that text box. Next, you want to push the play button. If everything worked, there should be no warnings popping up, and everything should look clean and up here in the top window. Go ahead and close it. Now the purple tool will work. If I click it and I grab my rotate button, the tail can now be moved as a whole. Alright, so it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to have to go run a script whenever you want this button to work, but again, you don't have to do that. You could just grab each control and shift click, and it will do the same thing. It just mattered to me because I had created this tool and I really wanted it to work, and now it does. So it's really up to you how you want it to work. You could just shift select all those joints, or you could try executing that script because that's a really, really quick way to grab everything. Other than that, this little guy is ready to be used to animate. If you discover any issues with him or there's a problem, feel free to hit me up with a message on my YouTube or check out my email if you need to. And yeah, let me know if there's any improvements that can be made. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the update to the Flying Fox rig.